Where are you going?
Hey, they're coming in a sec. All right, bye.
How old is he? Are you walking?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
He's 19 months now.
Oh. I bet he's talking then, huh?
He's in one here and there. I'm swimming together, babbling.
So cute.
This is probably not too gorgeous. It's fun.
All right, sheriff's right behind me. There you
Hey.
go. Sort of right behind you. Okay. Raise Scott.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today on this Friday. I want to take you back in time. I want to take you back to the 1880s. Do you remember watching the old westerns where the outlaws were chasing each other through the countryside and shooting at each other? Well, let's advance to 2021. The same thing happened last night, except the outlaws, instead of being on horses, were on motorcycles. I guess you could call them iron horses. What I'm about to tell you is just a messed up situation by a bunch of messed up people. The information I give you is preliminary, and the reason I give you this disclaimer is nobody's telling us the truth. I know that's a news flash, but it's not working in their best interest. But we've cobbled together some information that I'm about to give to you. We apologize that we had to have the interstate shut down for a protracted period of time. However, we had bullet casings from 3 different firearms scattered over a half mile. And here's what occurred just after midnight. Ronald Donovan, who's 38 years of age and a black male, is a member of the Sin City Deciples motorcycle gang. He and at least 2 other motorcycles were eastbound on Interstate 4 through the county, headed toward the Orlando area, when along came 2 thug riders, a different gang, on at least 2 motorcycles, and passed them. Well, apparently that didn't work so well. And so then there was some skirmishing and some driving about 100 miles an hour. And during this event, Ronald shot from his motorcycle. He shot one of the thug riders, who is what we will call victim 1, who's 36 years of age and a Hispanic male. Victim 1 says, I felt the sharp pain in the back as I was shot, and I immediately returned fire toward Ronald Donovan, who had a white female as his partner on the back of his motorcycle. He struck the white female in the head, and she's dead. She's going to die. She is not dead yet, but she is mortally wounded, according to the information that we received from the hospital. It is a through-and-through wound from just above the ear and comes out the other side. So now we have 2 victims that are shot. She falls off of the motorcycle, and Ronald stops. Ronald and she have been friends, as we're told, for about 8 or 9 years. At this time, victim 1 drives to Champions Gate, which is the next large intersection past I-4 and 27, stops at a Papa John's, dials 911, and said, I got shot on the interstate. In the meantime, we're receiving other 911 calls that there's a shooting down on the interstate, and obviously it's the same. We send deputies to both locations. The Florida Highway Patrol assists us, and we determine immediately that this is not a crash that's caused this fatality, or soon-to-be fatality. I keep calling it a fatality because they tell us she is in super critical condition at this moment. We start the investigation. We find out that there's really a riding gun battle down Interstate 4 just after midnight last night. We have witnesses that said they were wearing gang colors, but by the time we arrived, they were not only not wearing their gang colors weren't there. Ronald had 2 empty gun holsters when he was taken into custody, but there were no firearms around. Just as deputies were arriving, they saw a motorcycle leave the scene, and we suspect the person on that motorcycle may have the gang colors and or the firearms. So we had to search for evidence and firearms all up and down the interstate. There's a half-mile trail of empty casings where this gunfight took place. At this moment in time, and I'm cautious at this moment in time, it appears to me that victim 1, who was shot in the back, was acting in self-defense when he returned fire toward Ronald Donovan, striking victim 2, who's a 33-year-old female. Ronald Donovan, now keep in mind, has his friend, his girlfriend, shot off the back of his motorcycle. When we are trying to determine what happened from him, he says, I know my rights. I don't have to talk to you. I take the 5th. Dude, your girlfriend is just shot off the back of your motorcycle, is in extremely critical condition, and you won't cooperate to tell us what happened? I know my rights. Well, he needs his rights, because we ended up arresting him at the scene for battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest. We're also going to charge him with attempted second-degree felony murder on his girlfriend. If she dies, that will change to felony murder, because all evidence, all indication at this moment in the investigation indicates he started the shooting. He's also being charged with attempted first-degree murder for shooting the other victim. The other victim had an independent gang witness. We separated them immediately. They told us virtually the same exact story, and we didn't give them the opportunity to collaborate on their stories once we arrived. This is a significant event. So now we can expect the Sin City Disciples, and it's spelled Deciples. They spelled it wrong intentionally. And the Thug Riders to get all dusted up and be mean-mouthing each other on social media. And let me warn you, retaliation will get you all locked up in prison for a very long time. And that's a guarantee in Polk County. I don't recommend you do it in any county, but stay out of Polk County. Your stupidness has already gotten a 33-year-old beautiful young lady in a near-death situation, and another man shot, and old Ronald, who started the shooting, locked up in prison or jail on his way to prison for what amounts to lifetime felonies. Now, I'll be glad to entertain questions because I do that sort of thing. However, I've literally told you everything that we're comfortable with at this point in time. We've had a lot of lying going on. We've had people that don't talk. We've had evidence hidden. We've had at least witnesses and possible co-defendants that fled on us, and we'll find you too. Just give us the time. We got to get this sorted out, but we're coming to you to talk to you. So we are, as you know, very early into this investigation. Any questions?
Was there a specific beef between these two guys, or just the fact that they're part of a rival gang? I hate your guts.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. The information we have at this time, both came from Tampa. One came from a restaurant, and one came from a restaurant and apparently a gang house. They did not have a rivalry going on. They weren't at the same place earlier in the evening. So it just happened that the Thug Riders decided they would pass the Sin City Riders, and that didn't work so well. You had a rush of testosterone and a rush of idiocy, and it ended up with death, near death. I keep saying death. I shouldn't. She is not deceased yet, but she is in horribly bad condition. Okay? Anything else? Yes?
Do you have any civilian witnesses? I mean, this is pretty scary that this was happening on the interstate.
We do have some civilian witnesses that obviously we're not talking about right now that were behind the motorcycles when this event occurred. So there are some independent witnesses.
Speaking to the fear too, just like that people might have on a highway.
Excuse me, sir?
The fear that some folks might have, just have, even though these people are, who they are now, but
Yeah.
people on the highways.
Sure. The good news is that there's no one at large. There's not a random shooter out here. We may not have all the shooters, but we're comfortable that we've got the groups together, and it's not like there's going to be someone out there tonight randomly shooting at cars. So it was great work by our deputies and detectives and highway patrol who assisted us. But understand, the one guy that was shot in the back, he raced to a phone to call us. And the other guy, who his girlfriend is near death, he knows his rights. And we're going, dude, we're just trying to find out what happened here. We're not accusing anybody. This was when we first got there. I know my rights. Okay. See how that works for you.
Are either of the groups local to here, or they just happen to be passing through Polk County?
Passing through, Interstate 4 goes from coastline to coastline, so they were just passing through on their way back to the Orlando area.
Sheriff, I mean, I know you've seen a lot, but hearing this, it's like, I think most people don't realize that there's biker gangs out there that have so little regard for human life that they're just shooting at each other on the interstate. There's people behind them. I mean, how scary is this for?
Well, this is just one example. There's lots of little independent gangs, and this is a motorcycle gang, and we have all kinds of gangs of criminals. Fortunately, you know, they behave most of the time, and it doesn't come to our attention. And these folks focused their shooting toward each other, but unfortunately, while they're shooting at each other, driving down the road on the eastbound lanes, there's people going the other way in the westbound lane. At this point in the investigation, it appears that none of them were hit. You know, who knows? After someone sees your television broadcast, they may say, well, I thought that was a rock that I heard hitting my vehicle last night, and they go out and find a bullet hole later today. But the end result is, and we've discussed it, while the crime rate in Polk County is at a 49-year low, and it's historically low across this state, all of this talk about nationwide about bail reform and holding criminals in jail, it appears that it has encouraged criminal conduct. Well, let me give all of you a news flash that want to commit crime. That jail reform business that's letting thugs and criminals out all over the nation, it's not us. It's not us. Those criminals let out early for their criminal mischief, it's not us in Florida. So you're packing in the time being stupid out there. Behave. Behave. Or if you want to enjoy that low bail and don't go to jail, New York and California is wide open. And apparently they encourage that. So go there and have a big time. But if you come here and continue with your angst, it's going to be like the last 3 or 4 events where people were just off the rails. It doesn't work here. You're going to jail. You're going to get a no bond. We're going to try you. Our state attorney, Brian Haas, is simply the best. And then we're going to send you to prison for the rest of your life. Personal choice. You make a bad decision, we're going to make a good decision. Guaranteed.
Sheriff, how about priors for either the victim one or the gentleman you're arresting?
I plan to do a wrap-up next week. We haven't got into their backgrounds and their priors and that sort of thing at this point because we're still working this initial event. I mean, believe it or not, we were hustling around to try to get that interstate open last night. So it took, even though if you happen to be the one stuck in traffic, it seemed like an eternity, we were doing our best to get that road open as quick as we could for obvious reasons. But they took an 1888 old Western shootout and brought it to 2021 last night.
Is this the first time you heard of something like that? That sounds like a scene from a Fast and Furious movie or something.
Well, I think they watched a movie and they wanted to emulate it last night. But the unfortunate thing is we've got a lady, a beautiful lady. If obviously we can't release her identity, but I've seen photographs of her. She's a beautiful young 33-year-old lady that's near death, and her boyfriend is locked up on many death case charges. We got another guy shot in the back. It's just craziness. Fortunately, because it was midnight and the interstate was not packed thick bumper to bumper, there was room for bullets to move between cars. Had it been right now, it'd have been a whole different story, because it is bumper to bumper, well in excess of the speed limit out there at this moment.
And have you, in talking to him, have the investigators said, or does he realize how he could have been hurt?
Yes, sir, but see, it's apparent to us after trying to talk to this man, he was born smarter than the rest of the world and only got smarter as he aged. So he's someplace around 842 points on the genius range right now in his mind. And he didn't seem to care at all when he was talking to us. And this is initially, we weren't accusing him of anything. We just wanted to know what happened. But I suppose that when you're trying to talk to a guy and he's got 2 empty holsters there, he would need to have a lawyer. Because you got empty holsters, that guy's got a hole in him, your girlfriend got shot off the back of your motorcycle. That ain't a good night. Anything else? Going once, going twice? Have a good weekend. We hope to give you a wrap-up on this on Monday. And what are you doing out in Polk County? I thought you were behind the desk all the time. I'm glad to see you again. You do an awesome, awesome, awesome job, and we miss you out here. I walked in, I thought, my goodness, my buddy.